Today, I want to take you on a journey, one that begins with a love story but ends in tragedy. It's a story that forces us to ask ourselves some tough questions about trust, love, and the decisions we make when we think we are following a higher calling. Let's start at the beginning, where Sylvester, Ofori, and Barbara Tommey's path first crossed. Barbara was young, just 22 years old, fresh out of the university and full of dreams. Like many of us at that age, she was looking for direction, for purpose, and perhaps for love. Then, in what seemed like a twist of fate, Sylvester entered her life. Sylvester wasn't just any man, he was a pastor, a self-proclaimed prophet at 30, the founder of the Floodgates of Heaven Ministries there in Orlando. He was charismatic, confident, and carried himself with an air of authority that could easily draw people in. And men, draw people in he did. One fateful day, his brother, who is also a pastor, had gone to the would-be couple's church. Then they were not married. So the brother went to the church to preach during a revival program. And while there, he prophesied that Barbara would marry a pastor called Sylvester, who was incidentally also in the church at the time. Like, seriously, what are the odds? I mean, a pastor conveniently predicting that his own brother is somebody's perfect match. Really? Like, I'm rolling my eyes just saying this. So imagine that. How would you feel if someone you trusted told you that your life partner had been chosen by divine intervention? So Barbara fell in love and truly believed in the prophecy. Even though her family had doubts, they eventually came to accept it too. After all, in their eyes, this was God's plan, her destiny. According to an exclusive interview with Barbara's sister, Sophia, she said though they had reservations about the couple, mostly because of their different cultural backgrounds. They are both Ghanians, but they come from different cultures. Just like in Nigeria, we have the Yoruba culture, the Igbo culture. So Sylvester and Barbara come from two different cultures. So they ultimately accepted it. After all, Barbara was hell-bent on going through with it, and so both parties prayed over it, trusting that they were doing the right thing. So despite the short time they had known each other, in September of 2015, Barbara and Sylvester tied the knot in a beautiful ceremony, just 2 months after she graduated. It should have been the start of a beautiful life together, and at the time, it actually was. But well, things aren't always as they seem. Now I want you to pause for a moment. Think about that, about making a decision as significant as a marriage, not because of love or trust or something else, but because someone told you it was what God wanted. Does that sit right with you? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. As Africans, we tend to be very religious, and sometimes we place these pastors on such high pedestal that we will do just about anything they ask of us. This is something that's worth reflecting on, because as this story will show, not everything that glitters is gold. So as the newlyweds began their life together, cracks started to show in their relationship. It didn't happen overnight, of course not. Rarely do these things, but little by little, Barbara began to see a different side of Sylvester. There were reports that Sylvester was abusive, sometimes as early as 2016. Although her sister denied that Sylvester was ever physically abusive, she also mentioned that Barbara was very quiet and secretive. So it's possible she was going through a lot, but she kept much of her suffering to herself. Not until her death, when her friends revealed the harsh reality she had faced. So to the family, everything seemed normal, until of course, well, here we are. It's easy to wonder why she didn't leave sooner, but the truth is, living an abusive relationship is never easy. Fear, love, hope, all these emotions play a role. Maybe Barbara hoped things would get better. Maybe she feared what Sylvester would do if she left. Whatever the reason, Barbara stayed until things became unbearable. The final straw for Barbara, according to the sister in her interview, was when she discovered Sylvester was beginning to deviate from the Christian faith. He decided to join an occult group. His reason? He wanted to perform miracles like the prominent pastors. She figured it out when she tracked her car using its GPS and found he had taken it to a shrine in Nzema, a location known for occult initiations. That was it for her. Coming from a deeply religious background, forsaking God and dabbling with the devil was simply non-negotiable. She knew then that she was done. Barbara finally decided to leave, sometimes in July of 2020. She moved out of their home and filed for divorce. But Sylvester wasn't about to let her go so easily. Barbara was literally the breadwinner of the family and owned all the properties. Sylvester was just a pastor. The thought of losing everything drove him to desperation. He started making threats. These threats weren't just empty words. After her death, a video surfaced showing an incident when Barbara returned home with her brother to collect some of her belongings and some important documents. That's on the 6th of September 2020 thereabout. That's like 2 days before the tragic incident. Sylvester attacked her, strangling her until her brother intervened, fighting him off. In the video, you can actually see Barbara trying to stop her brother, even defending her husband. Barbara's sister-in-law recorded the entire confrontation, including the moment where Sylvester, without hesitation, looked into her brother's eyes and promised to kill his sister.
Promise me, if I don't kill your sister, then me, I am fake. You got the video, right?
Yeah, I got it. A day before the tragic incident, he made a cryptic post on his Facebook page with over 60,000 followers. He wrote, "One thing people gotta understand about extremely kind, nice, and loving people is that their other side is just as extreme." Creepy, right? So on the morning of Tuesday, September 8, 2020, Barbara's worst fears became a reality. She arrived at her job at the Navy Federal Credit Union in Orlando, Florida, just like she had so many times before. But this time was different. She parked in front of the building, went inside to maybe sign in before coming out again to move her car to her usual parking spot on the side. Everything seemed normal. But as Barbara walked back towards the front doors, she sensed movement behind her. Imagine the surprise and horror on her face when she turned and realized it was her estranged husband, Sylvester. In that moment, faced with the man who once promised to love and protect her, now standing just feet away, gun in hand, Barbara became terrified. She ran toward the front door, frantically banging for anyone to let her in. But before help could come, Sylvester closed the gap, raised the gun, and fired 2 shots. Barbara fell to the ground. As she lay there helpless, Sylvester stood over her, his eyes filled with rage, and without hesitation, he fired 5 more rounds, point blank. This happened in broad daylight, just before 9 a.m., in front of several witnesses. People nearby, waiting for the bank to open, took to their heels as he pulled the trigger again and again. Barbara never made it back inside the building. She was rushed to the hospital, but it was too late. She was pronounced dead shortly after arriving. It's hard to wrap your head around something like this. How does a love story end in such a brutal and senseless way? How does someone go from being a loving husband to a cold-blooded killer? These questions will make us question everything we think we know about the people around us. Barbara's family was contacted, and it was easy to identify Sylvester from the CCTV camera. because he was wearing the exact same shirt he wore in the video where he threatened to kill Barbara. So Sylvester was arrested later that day at his apartment. He didn't resist. Well, what was left to fight for exactly? Everything was caught on CCTV camera. He was held at the Orange County Jail without bond on a charge of first-degree murder with a firearm. His trial started July 22nd, 2024, and on 25th of July 2024, he was sentenced to life in prison. Justice, in a legal sense, has been served. But for Barbara's family and for all of us who hear her story, the pain and the questions will remain. As someone who has followed many true crime cases, I've seen how often love can turn into something dark and twisted. We need to be careful about who we trust, about the decisions we make in the name of love, or in this case, in the name of God. Let's stop dragging God into the mess of human choices and using his name to justify heinous acts. God doesn't endorse our wrongdoings. We need to be accountable for our own actions. Let God be, please. So I leave you with this. If you ever find yourself in a situation where something doesn't feel right, whether it's a relationship, a friendship, or even a prophecy, listen to that inner voice. Trust your instincts. Love should never be about control, fear, or pain. And remember, no matter what somebody else tells you, your life is yours to live, and you have the right to protect it. Barbara's story is a heartbreaking one, but it's also a powerful reminder. She was laid to rest on the 26th of September 2020. May her beautiful soul rest in perfect peace, and may we never end up married to our own killers in disguise. Leave a resounding amen to that prayer down in the comment section. Let's learn to be vigilant, to trust ourselves, and to never let anyone, no matter who they are, take control of our lives. Thanks for watching, guys. Please support my channel by clicking that subscribe button so you don't miss updates on new cases. Take care and stay safe out there. Bye.
I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't